So I found out about it from a little printed flyer, probably from Staples, that I found in a secondhand bookshop that very first year.
I've known Randy for a number of years. We're in the same writing club, and in 2008, he ran World Fantasy in Calgary and just did an awesome job. So when we saw our local convention kind of wasn't serving the needs of writers as much as you know, media artists and people, you know, like that, he decided he would like to put on a local convention. And when I heard that he was organizing, I wanted to get involved. So I got involved with the board right from the very beginning.
Well, I first discovered literary conventions in the late 80s, which was Calgary's local science fiction convention. And after attending a couple of years, I started helping. And then I discovered, hey, there's other conventions in the world, and I would go to World Cons and World Fantasy and Norwestcon and VCon. And there were things I liked about all of them, you know, that I thought, you know, for me personally, these are the reasons I go. And when the local science fiction convention aspired to be a media con rather than a literary convention, I did sit down in the green room with some friends who were writers and readers, and we discussed, hey, you know, we really need something more literary. I mean, nothing wrong with media, just that Calgary's got a huge comic expo. A little tiny one popping up beside it wouldn't serve anybody, we thought. So I suggested, well, instead of being a science fiction convention, let's be a literary festival for everyone who loves books, all genres, nonfiction, you name it. And people thought that were a good idea. They just didn't know how much buy-in we'd get from the community. So that first year, which was 10 years ago, we kind of budgeted for 150 people because we had no idea who was going to come. And we had 186, and they came from every genre imaginable. The buy-in was huge, and we rapidly grew to 800, and we actually have to cut off registration 2 months in advance because we're full up. So people really like the concept of just something about books. People who love books want to talk to writers and readers of all genres. It's caught on. It's the largest event of its kind in Canada now. So yeah, I'm quite pleased with the response from the people who attend and participate. Oh, and I'm also a writer.
I was going to say, you didn't mention anything about yourself in that statement. Let's talk about you.
I discovered the writing community through speculative fiction, and so I began writing speculative short stories. I won an Aurora Award for a novella, and then when I retired from my day job, I had time to write novels, so I started writing novels. And I've got 6 of them out there now.
My name is Shannon Allen. I am a writer and an editor and a grandma, which is one of my highlights of my life. I have never missed a When Words Collide festival. So I have attended them from the very beginning, and I'm grateful and honored that I've been able to be a part of it for the whole duration.
I'm Liz Grakowski. I write under the name Elizabeth Whitten. And I started going to When Words Collide about 7 years ago. I'm a writer. I like to write young adult fiction. And I'm also adult fiction, and I like the speculative fiction genre. That's my happy place. I'm really excited to be here because When Words Collide has just had a huge impact on my career. And I remember the first time I went, I don't even know how I found out, to tell you the truth, but I went with some friends, and I was just blown away. And ever since then, it just made these huge changes in my life. So it's just the best conference ever. And I know from friends of mine in other places like Ontario, Ottawa, on the coast, everyone's heard of it. So it's a big deal now in Canada.
Hi, I'm Marina Schneider. I am an author, editor, and mother. You'll probably see my little guy pop in from time to time. And he's pretty much my inspiration for following my my heart, my dream, which is editing and writing. I have been attending for about 5 years, I think. And I've been on the board for 3 or 4, just trying to help out with a little bit of the organization that great Randy does.
Hello, my name is Susan Forrest. I write science fiction, fantasy, and horror. I've got about 25 or 30 short stories published, and my first book came out a year ago. Book 2 is launching at When Words Collide this weekend, so I'm really excited about that.
Ask each of you what appealed to you about this idea. Some of you have been from the beginning, some of you have filtered in as time has gone on, but you've all experienced this quite a bit now. And so I'm kind of curious, what was your first initial thought into why I should be a part of this?
So, yeah, when I heard that Randy was starting this convention, I just knew that it was going to be awesome. So I did want to get involved right away at the beginning. And I understood Randy's concept of wanting to have a cross-fertilization of a whole lot of different genres, because, every story has a bit of romance in it. What can't we learn from the romance writers? As Randy's pointing out, what can't we learn from crime writers, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. At the very beginning, of course, we were just getting organized and trying to get our feet under us. And I can't remember, the board was maybe 10 or 15 people. We're up to like 30 now. Like the jobs are small, so everybody can really do a bang up job. But back then we were just trying to figure things out. So one of the things that I felt was really important was ensuring that the various writers groups, particularly around Calgary, where we had some reach, understood that it was for them, that everybody was invited. And so we're trying to figure out how to contact them. And so I volunteered to be the first affiliates liaison. And what I did was I went out to each of the groups, and it was really interesting because I got such an education. I did not realize what a vibrant writing community we had in Calgary. And when I started reaching out and contacting people and going out, I discovered we've got 2 romance writers groups. We've got a literary group. We've got the crime writers group. We had all these different poets, different groups. So I'd go out and speak to them. And I remember our very first poster kind of missed the mark a little bit because it had a gigantic dragon on it. And it was a lovely poster, but it screamed, science fiction fantasy. So I was talking to one of the groups, and they said, "Oh yeah, we heard there's a new science fiction convention coming." And I started to say, no, it's not science fiction. It's for everybody. And I figured if we could just get 2 or 3 people out from each group and they saw what it was, because there's such a positive vibe. It's a fun, relaxed place to be, that they would figure it out and catch on really fast. And then, of course, we got an excellent board member. His name's Bob Stallworthy, who's from a literary background. And he gave us little pointers like, maybe your next poster doesn't have a dragon, and that helped us. When we got people from other backgrounds on our board, we were much more aware of those subtle changes that we could make that really made it inclusive. And it's the inclusivity, I think, that is one of the huge draws.
The first time I attended, I don't remember how I found out about it, but the first time I attended When Words Collide, I simply went to see what it was all about. And I was so impressed with how inclusive it felt and how excited and happy everybody was just to be there, to be learning all different genres, all different backgrounds. And it was just so exciting to feel that energy in Calgary. So I think Susan really hit the mark on that for me. That's exactly why I wanted to get involved. So I attended for a couple of years, I think just 2 years, and then thought, you know what, all of these people are volunteering their time and doing such a great job. And if I can be a part of that volunteer group, then absolutely I want to, and give back to some of these people who have done so much for me.
Like I said, I found WWC that very first year, and as a writer, I was floundering. I had no sense of community. I had no sense of outreach within a city that I lived in. So needless to say, I was a closet writer. And then I found it, and it has opened up so much. I've met so many wonderful people. I've become parts of 2 wonderful organizations, have had the opportunity to volunteer through WWC, not as a board member, but just as a volunteer. And the impact and the richness that it has brought, has been amazing. And I can now go out into the world and say, hey, I'm a writer. I've done this. I've produced this work that is now out into the world, and I have WWC to thank for all of that.
Oh, totally echoing what Shannon said. I remember the first time I came, so I'd been writing on my own and kind of trying to find community, but it was really hard for me. I joined some meetup groups, this, that. Anyway, hit When Words Collide the first time. Oh my God, it was just Christmas and Easter and birthday and anniversary all wrapped up in one. Like, I can't even tell you how exciting it was. They had coffee clatches at that time. I sat in a coffee clatch with Robert Sawyer, who told you everything about the industry. He was so amazing and shared so much. And it blew me away because Robert Sawyer was an author I liked. Like, I had read Hominids. And it just blew me away. And then they had all these, just all the things you could learn. It was so rich and so full of things I was just thirsting to find out about. And then I found out about IFWA, which that's a huge story in my life because that's where I connected with people and got into critique groups and things like that. So what happened, long story short, I was very fortunate. I'm blessed and won an Aurora Award for my young adult book, Houses of the Old Blood, in 2018. And I was so humbled by what had happened to me. I just said, I have to give back. I just can't keep taking what this conference has given to me and not give back somehow. So I joined a couple of years ago, and I'm the speculative fiction program lead now. And it's just a job I love. Like, I love doing it because I research things, other conferences and stuff, and try to put together some programs that, Randy might like to put in the When Words Collide programming. And then this year I'm moderating panels. So it's kind of like a full circle thing for me, because when I started, I was looking in awe at all these panels and these really smart people. And now I'm moderating panels with really smart people on them. And it really is mind-blowing when you think about it. I don't think you can overstate how important this conference is to Calgary, to Alberta, to Canada. It's really that important to writers and readers. And I'm just so thrilled to be part of it.
I'm curious. I want to tailor this a little bit for you, Randy. When you hear all these things about what people are saying and what you had initially thought when you first started this, is it anything close to what you imagined this would be?
Well, I appreciate what everyone has just said, and that is exactly what I was going for. So I'm really thrilled right now. I measure the success of a convention, conference, festival, whatever you want to call it, by the atmosphere, the emotion, the buzz, people's reactions. So when I go to an event and someone says, "Was it good?" I said, "Yes, everyone was having a great time. It was good," because that's what is important. I've tried to take the best of what I experienced at other people's conferences and put them all together in When Words Collide. It's really about networking, not just writers networking, but also readers networking with other readers. Most of the readers that come to our festival like to see the writers as people. That's why they're there. They go, I've read some books. I want to see the people behind those books and see them as people. And so it really is all about networking and community and people having a weekend to get recharged and excited, and then go home and have that as a positive influence in their lives.
And the unique thing that I've always found with When Words Collide that is different than any other experience that I've ever had is that the networking goes on through the hallways. Everybody seems to plan at a specific time to go away from a panel. Maybe they have a lull in their schedule and they'll sit down and talk to each other, and it's a rekindling, and everybody gets to meet with one another. And I do the same. I make sure that I schedule certain people that I don't get to see, and I get to talk to them, and we spend an hour together or whatever we do.
I think the inclusivity and the generosity of all the attendees to WWC is one of those hidden gems. It is a gift. Everybody there is so willing to share what they know, to discuss what they know, encouragement. And it's just that inclusivity, it makes you feel like you've come home. As a writer, as a reader, as a participant in this festival, you're home. And it's something that generosity flows out to you, and it fills your cup for the next year. And then you go back and you refill that cup, and you in turn fill other people's cups with what you know and what you have experienced. I think it's that willingness to share that is just, it's one of those amazing things that happens there, and it feeds into the networking just naturally, like you just do it.
I think part of the reason why that you see that generosity is the build of the conference in general. A lot of science fiction and fantasy conferences use this model, but I think there are definitely other conferences that don't. And that is that we're all volunteers. So you'll see over 100 panelists and presenters on the list. They're not getting paid. Even our guests of honor. I mean, we fly them in, we get them, hotel and per diem and things like that. But they are volunteers too. All the board members are volunteers. None of us. We all buy our own ticket to attend, as well as volunteering on the board. So I think it's built in the generosity. But there's another little story that I'd like to tell, and that is one of the things that I absolutely love to do, and I would recommend it to anybody who gets a chance as a volunteer, is I have on a couple of occasions been a guest liaison. And the job's not hard. You go to the airport, you pick up a guest of honor, and you get to meet them, and they drive in your car, and you talk to them. And you're kind of their gopher. If they need anything all weekend, here's my phone number, I'll get it for you. And most of them really don't need much because they're pros and they know what they're doing. But I've been a guest liaison for one of our guests. And as I was dropping her off at the hotel and making sure she was all settled in and everything, she said, "Now, what do you need from me?" And, I said, a couple of this and this and this, and just be available. And she said, "Yeah, I understand. That's what I'm here to do." So I think in some conventions, guests of honor are not very accessible to most participants. But at When Words Collide, if you want to meet one of the big name people, they're there, and they're there to meet you.
Most of the time, you have to pay for that privilege at most of these conferences.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that When Words Collide doesn't have is a green room. I don't like the concept of a place for your guests and presenters to hide all weekend. And I know they're very popular at other conventions, and people have asked me, why don't you have one? And my response is, we're here to meet people. And so, yeah, we don't have a green room. We have we're very particular about our hotel that we choose. There needs to be a lot of social space. We ask the hotel to provide grab-and-go food.
Mm-hmm.
That is at the Delta Hotel where we currently are. That's in our book room. So you go in there to look at books and talk to publishers, and there's a seating area and there's food right there. We make our book room a very social place because that's the goal, is for people to actually meet each other and talk to each other.
The first year that I was an attendee, they were actually, When Words Collide was in a different hotel, and it didn't have that sort of two separate buildings, and it was definitely an upstairs, downstairs, because I remember like running up and down the stairs to get to different rooms for different hours. And I have to say that even though, you know, it's definitely a fantastic hotel that we have now, definitely a fantastic location, that even back then was still, you could still feel that excitement and enthusiasm, and everybody was smiling and enjoying themselves, and had that second to sort of connect on the stairwell. And it was still the same feeling as it is now. So it's not something that necessarily is a location, as we're seeing this year as well, because we don't have the physical location. Everybody's at home attending, but the excitement is still there. You know, the Facebook group is still really active, and everybody's obviously really excited about this weekend. So it's, you can take away the great location, you can take away the actual, you know, physicality of it, and that energy is still there.
I like to talk a lot, as you might have noticed. By the end of the convention, my jaw hurts from talking so much. And pretty much the next week, I don't say a thing. But during the convention, you can, I don't know, I probably talk to hundreds of people. I'm pretty sure. Just everywhere you go, everybody's excited. Last year was really cool. This little girl comes up to me. I was on a panel, and she comes up and she's got these glasses on and she's very serious. And she comes up to me and she says, and I was on the panel, I was kind of pseudo-moderating it. And she goes, "I'm a writer." I said, "Really?" And then she tells me this amazing premise for her book. And I'm just like, wow. And then on the other end, you have these people who are, you know, obviously senior citizens, and yet they're so vibrant and alive. It just stretches like that. The people that you meet, it's really amazing. It's a really cool atmosphere.
This festival has some unique things to it. It has the hidden art show. It has sword fighting. You know, that's been a feature a couple of years. I did a screenplay contest last year, and it's just it's expanding. It's growing. It's evolving. This would have been the 10th anniversary, and we had stuff planned. I know you all had stuff planned, and now we're kind of pretending like, while this is the 10th anniversary, we're kind of pretending like, okay, this is just another festival. Next year, we're going to really celebrate. And so I'm kind of curious from everybody what you're looking forward to in the evolution.
Well, I just like to say what makes us different from any other convention I've been to is the variety. As you mentioned, you can see anything and everything here. Our in-person festival has 10 to 12 different things going on every hour of the day. We call it a buffet festival. Is you decide every hour what you want to do. Moving online this year, we weren't sure how much content we have, but we're actually quite surprised. We have like 5 concurrent sessions most hours to choose from. What suits you most? You go give it a try. But the big thing is we are an inclusive festival. We invite attendees with some type of expertise to present. And we say, what do you want to do? we got sword fighting a couple of times because our presenters wanted to sword fight. They do that professionally or semi-professionally in their regular lives. So they did some at the festival. We really just put the call out saying, come here, share what you like with everybody else. And that's what makes it unique to me, is it's just that it's a buffet. Anything and anything could happen.
Part of the variety is by design. So, for instance, every year when we choose our guests of honor, we always get an industry professional guest of honor. So it could be an agent, could be an editor, somebody who represents the industry. Every year we try to ensure that we get somebody from Alberta, so a local guest of honor. Every year we try to get somebody from representing maybe romance that year, or crime that year, or science fiction that year. We can't get every genre every year because we only do 5 guests of honor, but we try to always mix it up. Some years, particularly, I can't remember which year it was, we ensured they were all Canadian, but lots of years we have international guests of honor. So we try to make sure we get people from a variety, like we get people who are old hands at this, really famous names, but we also get, an up-and-coming breakout author to be a guest of honor too. So we have quite a variety.
Calgary has this really great depth of expertise. Like, I think it's really unusual in the world, to tell you the truth, how, the quality of people we have doing presentations and things like that on our panels. What I'm looking for is, I continually go to the big cons when I'm researching my panels. And my goal is to keep on bringing on really interesting, relevant panels, in diversity, and really, not just the same old panels every year, bring new things in, and then, bring new people in too, if we can. One of the nice unintended consequences of COVID is we've been able to bring people in on panels from all over the world. They might not have all been able to come. So, it kind of gave us an access to even better, not better quality, but even more variety of panelists, which is really amazing. This I want to say to the people who have never been to a conference and are considering it. I remember, now that I'm in it and been part of it and organizing it, to me, I'm looking forward to it. And it's like a big party, and I'm going to meet people I haven't seen all year, and it's fun. It's really fun. But when you come for the first time, a lot of authors especially are introverts, and it can seem overwhelming to go to a place where there's 800 people milling around. And what I want to say to you is come, because number one, the people are very friendly, and no one's going to, ignore you if you go and talk to them. 2, it's really good for you to, as an author, to push yourself to try to go to these conventions. And 3, you're going to learn so much and make so many great sort of connections. It is hard for some people to try to do that. I say it's super worth it. So do come, don't let that reticence hold you back.
I think this conference and going forward into the future, that generosity, that inclusion, that awakening of what's new and different out there. Liz touched on that there is such a wide amount of panels out there. I look forward to finding something that I've never been exposed to, that haven't read that author, haven't looked at something from that viewpoint. We had a professor one year talking, a science professor talking about the universe and what interesting things to be learning about in such a learning supportive environment. That's one of the things I look forward to. The people are amazing. Like Liz said, and everybody else has said here too, that you're never alone in these things. You may go alone to this festival, but you are never alone. You will find somebody, you will make a new best friend. It's just a wonderful thing, and that's what I'm looking forward to.